let's understand availability options and how that works. So there are two options for a virtual machine in a region to be highly available. What does that is, one is availability set and one is availability zone. So within the same region, you can actually have uh, one option as an availability set and one option as an availability zone to make your virtual machines to be highly available, so that your workload will not face any downtime even if any of the one machine is actually going down or a couple of machines going down along with it. So let's understand why that works that way. When we are actually trying to create virtual machines in a specific region, uh, it could be either a data center, uh, or it could be just a one data center, or it could be of multiple data centers. But when you're not choosing an availability option when you're trying to create a machine, then the chance that the machine is being in one in the same rack, the machines which you're creating, if you created five machines and you haven't chose availability set and availability zone as an option, then these machines can be of from a same rack server. Then what is the problem? Okay, the main problems is the there would be a maintenance activities by Azure, they will do on the rack server. Okay, and on that time, the instances which are there on that rack server will incur uh, a downtime. And that point of time, uh, uh, the servers can't be the that point of time, your service will be running on that server, and the service will not be available. Or it could be that the network switch and power switch for this rack server will be from from the same one, from a one network switch and a power switch. And what if there is an hardware failure? So either an hardware failure in terms of a network switch issue, or with related to power switch, power socket issue and all that. It's a very less probability, but still you might incur a downtime. And why is that so much of a concern for to be a concerned thing while you're learning this Azure? Because any service works under SLA, service level agreement. So they're saying that if you're trying to take this virtual machine, we are gonna give you a 95% probability if you're choosing a standard HDD disk. When you're creating the machine, virtual machine and everything, I'm gonna give you a 95% SLA. Now, if you're going to choose what do you say, a standard SSD disk, OS disk, premium SSD and all that. Uh, I would actually give you 99.99% or something is there. Okay. But you have to understand what is an SLA here. SLA, so if you're going with availability set as an option, you will be getting n- more 99.99% SLA. If you're going for availability zone as an option, you will get more nines. So there is something that way, which Azure tries to say. Let me just cover that one. We go to Google and I look at Azure Virtual Machine SLA. There we have. So it's saying that, yeah, here it is. Normal standard HDD, you give you a 95% SLA, and if it is a SSD disks, premium SSD disk, you get 99.99, and if it is using availability sets, it's 99.5%. Okay, I was wrong. It is 99.99.5, and this one is 99 SLA. So what does that mean? It means that uh, so 95% is of 365 days. So in a year, okay, 100% is 365 days. So 95% is accordingly you will get a the SLA. This is the SLA which they will promise. And so if we go in terms of calculator and look at it, 95 divided by 100 and into 365, you get 346. And I do minus 365. So that, so here they're saying that 18.25 days you have a chance to incur downtime. So when you incur a downtime, you can't questions. I know that you are paying money, but understand when you're taking this service that 18.25 days you might incur downtime when you're choosing a standard HDD, and that point of time you should not ask us anything about why am I facing a downtime and all that. Okay. Now if you are choosing a premium SSD virtual machines and everything, 99% uh, into 365 divided by 100. So that's 361 minus 365 days. That's so if you're going with a premium SSD and where you're having 99% SLA, you're getting 3.65 days. Now let's understand what is 99.99%. So it's simple, 365 into 0.9999. Okay, and so you incur this time of 0.003 days. So when you're going with this availability zone, is it so important to know this kind of calculation? No need to know. Okay, I just wanted to show you what how does that work. So 0.06 in one day is 24 hours, na? So 0.8 hours, 76 hours. You can face a downtime when you're choosing availability zone as an option when you're running a workload. That means in a year, only 0.876 hours is what you might have a chance to incur a downtime when you're actually choosing an availability zone as an option. And there again, if I go with 60 minutes, so 52 minutes is what you actually face a downtime. You can face a downtime. It's not like uh, it's sure that you will be facing a downtime, but if you face a downtime, you can't question when your downtime of service is 52 minutes when you're choosing an availability zone as an option. So when you choose availability set as an option, it is giving you 99.5% SLA, and how was it is able to decrease its downtime very less. So let's understand how the availability set is actually trying to provide the feature and everything. So these are the two activities which can happen in a data center, and because of this, from Azure end, there could be a downtime. If your workload is having some issue, errors and everything inside the machine, that is not the headache of Azure. But Azure is saying that you have to give us this window in an year when you're trying to utilize. This is the only time. This is the only SLA we can promise for you to, if your workloading is running in our machines. But if you wanted to increase, just go for more higher options. So availability set is trying to say that we'll give you two domains concepts, fault domain and update domain. And update domain is saying that so whenever maintenance activities are happening, Azure will do rack by rack, a set of racks, instead of they are trying to do all at a once on all racks or single racks and everything. So they'll try to do on update domain racks one by one. And you have fault domain. Fault domain is like the hardware sockets, like network switch, power switch, and everything will be different in each of the fault domains. So here it means that you're provisioning a VM and you're choosing an availability set as an option. They will place, you will have different UDs. So here let's take an example point of view. I have a UD0, UD1, UD2, UD3. And similarly, I have an fault domain FD0, FD1. And so when I create a machine VM1, okay, I place the machine in UD0 and FD0. And if I create a VM2, I'll place it in UD1 and FD1. And if I create a VM3, I create it UD2 FD0, because there is only 0 and 1. Either I can place it in 0 or in, so I'll place it in a consecutive order. So like that, I'll create, suppose let's assume I'll create 4, 5 and 6. And now it is UD3, UD4, and again it comes back to UD0. And similarly here, it is FD1 and FD again 1 here. Okay. Now what has happened? I created this mediums. Now when a maintenance activity, let's understand a maintenance activity is happening on this machines. Okay. On a shore, that particular region, in whichever region, East US region or Central India region you're choosing. Okay. We created in all that one specific region we choose, and we created an availability set, and which we just placed it. So this is how not it's not going to be placing randomly. It's going to place in organized fashion. In this way, when we have this many UDs and we have this many FDs. What is meant by this many FDs and what is meant by this many UDs? See, you while you're creating an availability set and everything, you want to say that okay, I want 5 UDs and 2 FDs. So so when you're placing, so we're understanding that. So when this is how it has been placed in multiple from the domains you have chose. So when a maintenance activity is happening, it will happen on UD0. It will not happen on UD1 and 2 and 3. So once a UD0 is complete, then they will go with UD1. And once UD1 is complete, then they will go with UD2. And they will go like that. So what has happened? So when UD0 is actually having maintenance activity, which all machines are going to face a downtime. VM1 is going to face a downtime. Why VM1 is going to face a downtime? Because VM1 is at UD0 and a maintenance activity is happening on the uh, and maintenance activity is happening on the uh, UD0. That means VM1 is there on the UD0, VM6 is there on the UD0. So on this both of the racks, when a maintenance activity is happening, VM1 and VM6 will face a downtime. Okay, let's now see UD1. Okay, this is so during that time UD1 and UD2 will not have any maintenance activity. So any of these machines VM1 to VM2 to VM5 will be running and no issues. So that's how we have came out of the available this downtime issue choosing an availability set. Now similarly, when a UD1 is actually uh, is going with a maintenance activity, then VM2 and that's it. VM2 is the only machine which will face downtime as per this scenario. Okay, and uh, so when a UD1 is actually maintenance activity is happening, the rest VM1, VM3, VM4, VM5, VM6 will be running. So as accordingly this works. Now when we try to take hardware failure as an option. So one of the power socket has been failed. Okay, the rat came and spoiled the uh, socket, and because of this, we'll face a downtime. But as the network switch and power switch are different, this one for UD FD0 and FD1. Okay, so only these machines will face downtime. The very less probability, but still let's assume that probability. Okay, so FD0 power switch has been lost, so we will face a downtime in VM1, VM3, VM5. What about VM2, VM4, VM5, VM6? They are in different FDs, so we'll not face a downtime there. So that's how an availability set works. So this is through which we are able to achieve better SLA, 99.95% SLA. But still, this UD and FD are happening on a same data center, on a same building. What if the data center has been, there's a data center failure? So that is when we go with availability zone as the option. So we have availability zone as an option when the data center there's a data center failure. So let me pause the recording. Start. So when we are choosing availability zone as an option, it means that zone means we have three data centers and each one will be defined as zones. You have three zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So when you're creating a machine, you're choosing an availability zone as an option. They'll also ask, do you want it to create it in zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and all that? And do you wanted it to be in a position to support zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3? Okay. So when you're trying to do, it means that VM1, you're creating in zone 1, VM2, you're creating in zone 2, VM3, you're creating in zone 3, VM4, you're creating in zone 4, VM5. Oh, sorry, there's no zone 4, right? There's only zone 1 and VM5 zone 2, VM6 zone 3. Now let's understand. What if there is a data center failure? One data center failure might happen. So so zone 1, there's a zone 1 failure. Then which is the downtime will happen? VM1 and VM4. Why? because they are in zone 1 and zone VM1 is zone 1 and VM4 is zone 1. The rest VM2, VM3, VM5, VM6 are actually running. Okay, so this is how it's providing you 99.99% SL. What if the entire availability is so the region? There is a region failure. So whether it is a zone failure, whether it is a zone or a region or a single data center. When I say zone, it's three data centers. In terms of a it's three zones. Let me keep it that way. So zone is not three data centers. Means zone is itself a data center. So three zones in a three data centers or a single data center, there is a failure. Data center is a single one name. Okay, and it's a failure. Then you go for what do you say? Site replication. So this is a separate topic, Azure site replication. You replicate your machines, the VMs which are there, one in one of the secondary region. So you're creating in machine in central India. You replicate that machine to west in South India or West India or somewhere. So that what if the region failure is there in the central India, then we have South India where the machine is running and the entire data is replicated with a minimal downtime. But the reason why we choose a site replication is much more than that. Okay, and we'll get back to that probably after when we get into Azure site recovery. But this is how this works. So let's understand into labs of how we can actually go and do this. But before I jump into the labs and everything, any questions? So let's go and create these things and understand how that works. So I'm creating a machine. So you have to watch this time more specifically where are I'm actually going and making changes. Test RG. mm, I'm going to mention as East US RG, and I'm going to mention VM01 East US VM01, and I'm going to mention East US region. And here we have availability options. So here I have to prefer an availability set first. I'll create an availability set. I don't have an availability set. So let me create a new, and it's asking to provide a avail set East US, and the fault domain I can choose is till update domains I can choose till 20, and fault domains I can choose till 2 or like that. So I'm choosing as per the example. So I'll choose only a couple of machines. So it'll easy for us to track. Availability set, and the image here is Ubuntu, and I'll go for a smaller vCore and run a spot instance, and I go for password, and I give trainer Indian at the rate 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and then I go back to disks. Here I can choose premium SSD or standard SSD. If you're choosing a standard SSD, yes, but as you're placing in availability zone as an option, you get it. Okay, if I choose spot instance, I will not be in a position to uh, what do you say, choose an availability set. So spot instances they are not giving. If you wanted to go for a low cost bulk, the Azure is trying to say. So I can't choose spot instance here. That's why it has been grayed out. So I'll leave that as it is. And here networking, I'll leave this one public. I can remove the public IP if I wanted, and I can remove network security group if I wanted. I just don't. I go into monitoring, I disable this, I click on review plus create, So only one option which I've changed is availability set. I went and created an availability set because I don't have an availability set. Uh, but you can actually, if you're already having an, you can just search that if you're in the same region. It's a region specific. So I went and created a VM virtual East US VM01. Okay, and now similarly, once this has been created, I'll go. So you have to wait for at least one machine to be deployed. And meanwhile, I'll create uh, similarly, what do you say, in availability zone meanwhile. So I use another region, which is Central CI India, Central India, which is, and I'll say RG, and I'll mention C India VM01, and here Central India, yes, there it is. So I know that this is Central India is an availability zone. That is why it is going to work. Now, if I choose South India and all this, we don't have an availability zone as an option in this one because it's not an availability zone. So when you're choosing a region, when you're going with an availability zone, that has to be in terms of three data centers and everything. And a India is the one. So here I can choose whether it to be a zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and here I'm choosing zone 1. So I'm placing the machine under there. I can choose a spot instance here. For an availability set, it is not allowing trainer Indian at the rate 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 Indian at the rate 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and I can go back here into disks. I'm not touching anything of here. In networking, I'm going to remove the security group and the public IP. How can I remove a public IP? I can choose to select none. I can choose to select network security group as no, and I'll disable the monitoring and everything, and I'll click on review plus create. And meanwhile, if you see, the machine we created in H2S has been deployed. And if I can click on go to resource, you are able to see that this resource is being placed. If you go into, where do you see that availability and scaling option, it is placed in UFD0, UD0. Now I'll go back here and I'll create one more VM. Let's wait. So the option which I'll choose here is East-US RG, and I'm going to say East-US VM02, and I'm going to say East-US, and I'm choosing availability set as an option. You have to choose availability set as an option, otherwise it can't know. And here I need to create a new because already there is one. I have to just select. So this automatically it plays that in the next order. One is VM FD0, and the next one UD0 and FD0. The next VM will be placed in UD1 and FD1. So let's go and check that how that works. So here trainer Indian at the rate 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 Indian at the rate 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and I create I'm not changing anything in the disks. I'll remove the public IPs and network security group by selecting none, and I'll go for monitoring. I'll disable the boot diagnostics at this point of time because that needs more time to create. And meanwhile, I'll click on create here for the virtual machine which I'm creating in Central India, which is a zone. I'm placing one machine in zone 1 here for Central India. Similarly, this machine is also validated, and this one is an availability set, and I'm placing this in the uh, what do you say, placing it in East US region in an availability set. So let's wait how this gets created. One mistake which I have done is I haven't checked at the size. So choose one core VMs. If you are trying to have a free trial and all that, choose you can choose, but ensure that you're deleting all your resources after creating. Otherwise, you lose your credits and everything. If you have pay-as-you-go model, you can try to for the demo scenarios and all that. You can try to use a one core machines and everything. Only thing you have to be watchful on that. So here if you see it's created, if I go inside the C India VM01, it is there in the central India and it is mentioned that I'm there in the zone 1. This machine is there in the zone 1. And if I go here, availability plus scaling, there is nothing related to this as it is a zone. But if I go and check in terms of this location, it is in the zone 1. So let me go and create another machine and I'll choose C India and I'll mention C India VM02 and I'll leave this one. I'll not change that. And here I'm going to choose availability zone as an option and I'll mention zone 2 here and I'm not touching anything. I'm going to spot instance. I choose the password and trainer Indian at the rate 1234567 Indian at the rate 1234567 and I'm not going to change the disk but I'm going to remove the public IPs and security group management is fine monitoring I'm going to validate and meanwhile if I go and check this VM which is East US region ka where I chose public availability set as an option. I clicked on go to resource and I checked that it is running in East US region. Everything is good. Okay, but and by default it took one core. That was a good one. So if I go here at the availability plus scaling option, I have FD1 and UD1. So if you see VM2 is when you create it is UD1 and FD1. And if you create a similarly a VM3 and choosing the availability set, it will go for the UD2, but as it is next one is FD0. And that's how it is going to place. And so even one of the machine is facing any downtime, the other machine is there to back up that. And similarly, if we go with this one, virtual machine in central India, which right now we are creating, and let's see how that works. So let's wait for this machine to get created. I'll pause the recording. So the machine got created, and this one is we in Central India. And if you see, one is in Central India, Zone 1 and Zone 2. So if I go back to resource groups and I look at C India RG and I look at there is no specific resource as such, it will get created unlike resource groups. If you see in the East US RG, there is an availability set, a resource type which got created. But that similar way you don't get to choose anything because you're actually placing machines directly in this one and you in zone 1 for a VM01 and VM02 you are placing it in zone 2 and if you create a VM03 you place it in zone 3 and again if you're creating VM4 you will choose zone 1 and that's how availability option. So even data center zone 1 is there is a failure, the zone 2 and zone 3 machines which are residing in zone 2 and zone 3 will be still running. And if you go with availability set, update domain and FD domain, you can see all the machines which are as per this FD0 and based on that. So it starts with 0. Remember that. So they'll ask like, is it starts with 1 or 2? So is it UD1, UD3, UD4 or UD0, UD1, UD2? So it starts with 0. Okay, so if how many UDs? So if there are three UDs, UD means update domain, FD means fault domain. So UD 0, UD1, UD2 here in this case. And that's how we can place our machines. So it's pretty easier to actually track our machines and your job mostly it is about there will be like thousands of VMs and you'll actually see in based on UDs and which is facing a downtime You'll go and check where it is going and what happening. It's more easier to track and more easier to maintain and more highly available solution in terms of availability set. And this is not a, they don't charge you for this. Only they charge you for machines usage. Thank you.